My wife said I had 30 days to become the man my wife deserves. On day one, my revenge made me the man who realized his wife never deserved me. My wife and I were celebrating our 5th wedding anniversary with friends and family. Everyone was laughing, having a good time, and then she stood up with a wine glass and destroyed my entire world in front of 30 people. That's exactly what happened to me last Saturday night. We had rented the back room at a nice Italian restaurant downtown. My parents were there, her parents, my brother, her sister, and our closest friends. Everyone was genuinely happy, sharing stories about our relationship and toasting to our future. I felt grateful, thinking about how lucky we were to have such supportive people around us. Then she stood up. "I want to make a special toast," she announced, tapping her wine glass with a fork. The room quieted down. Everyone expected some heartfelt speech about love and commitment. Instead, she looked directly at me with a cold smile I had never seen before. 5 years ago, I married the man I thought had potential. Tonight, I'm giving him 30 days to become the man I actually deserve. The silence was immediate and uncomfortable. My dad's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Her mother looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. My best friend just stared at his plate. But she wasn't done. I've been patient. I've been understanding, but patience has an expiration date. 30 days from tonight, I'll evaluate whether this marriage is worth continuing or if I need to explore other options for my happiness. She sat down and took a sip of wine like she had just commented on the weather. I felt every eye in the room on me. My face burned with embarrassment and anger, but I refused to give her the satisfaction of seeing me lose composure in public. Instead, I stood up slowly, grabbed my own wine glass, and looked around the room. "Well, that's certainly an interesting way to celebrate 5 years of marriage," I said, my voice steady despite the chaos in my head. "I guess we'll find out in 30 days whether she's the woman I deserve to keep." I finished my wine in one gulp, set the glass down, and said, "Excuse me for a moment." I walked to the bathroom, not to hide, but to process what had just happened. She had ambushed me. This wasn't some spontaneous emotional outburst. She had planned this moment, chosen this venue, and invited these specific people as witnesses. She wanted me humiliated and cornered. When I returned to the table, conversations had resumed, but they were forced and awkward. People were trying to pretend nothing had happened, but the damage was done. My brother kept shooting me concerned looks. Her father wouldn't make eye contact with anyone. The rest of the evening was a nightmare. She acted completely normal, laughing at jokes, talking about vacation plans, like she hadn't just publicly threatened our marriage. Meanwhile, I sat there realizing that the woman I married had just shown me exactly who she really was. As people started leaving, they gave us those awkward goodbye hugs where nobody knows what to say. My mother pulled me aside at one point. "Honey, what was that about?" "I honestly don't know, Mom, but I'm going to find out." The drive home was silent. She hummed along to the radio like it was any other night. When we got to the house, she headed straight for the bedroom. "Aren't we going to talk about what just happened?" I called after her. She turned around with that same cold smile. "What's there to talk about? You have 29 days left. I suggest you use them wisely." That night, lying in bed next to her, I stared at the ceiling for hours. She fell asleep easily, like she didn't have a care in the world. Meanwhile, I was processing the fact that she had been planning this humiliation for who knows how long. But here's the thing about ultimatums. They work both ways. She thought she was putting me on notice, giving me a deadline to shape up according to her standards. What she actually did was give me 30 days to evaluate whether she was worth keeping. The next morning, she was already downstairs when I woke up. I could smell coffee brewing and hear her moving around the kitchen. When I came downstairs, she had her laptop open and a stack of papers next to it. "Good morning," she said cheerfully, like yesterday never happened. "I made coffee. We need to go over your improvement plan." She slid a manila folder across the kitchen table toward me. Inside was a printed document, 12 pages long, titled 30-Day Relationship Enhancement Program. I looked at the first page and felt my anger shift into something else entirely. This wasn't just planned. This was a project she had been working on for months. I opened the folder and immediately understood the level of calculation behind her public ambush. This wasn't an emotional outburst or relationship frustration boiling over. This was a business plan for remaking me into her ideal husband. The document was professionally formatted with section headers, bullet points, and even a timeline chart. 30-Day Relationship Enhancement Program looked like something you'd present to a board of directors, not your spouse of 5 years. Section 1, Physical Improvements, I read aloud. Lose 15 pounds, Join a premium gym, hire a personal trainer, replace entire wardrobe with business casual attire, get a professional haircut every 2 weeks, whiten teeth, and start a skincare routine. She nodded enthusiastically, sipping her coffee like we were discussing weekend plans. I researched the best gyms in the area. There's one downtown that offers nutrition counseling too. I flipped to the next page. Section 2, Career Advancement. Secure a promotion within current company or find a higher paying position elsewhere. Enroll in evening MBA program. Attend 3 networking events per week and develop a 5-year financial plan. These are reasonable goals, she said, completely serious. Successful men are always improving themselves within 30 days. I looked at her like she had lost her mind. You want me to get an MBA in a month? Enroll in the program. Obviously, you can't complete it in 30 days, but showing initiative is what matters. I kept reading. Section 3 was about social improvements. Learn conversational French. Read 1 business book per week. Stop watching sports on television. Limit video games to 1 hour per week. And attend cultural events like museums and theater. Section 4 covered household responsibilities that I was apparently failing at, despite doing half the chores already. Section 5 was about emotional intelligence development, which included attending couples therapy sessions she had already scheduled. But Section 6 was where things got truly insane. Relationship dynamics and romantic gestures, I read. Plan and execute 1 surprise date per week. Write a daily gratitude note about our relationship. Bring flowers home twice weekly. Learn to cook 3 gourmet meals. And demonstrate physical affection more consistently. I closed the folder and looked at her. Where did this come from? I've been thinking about our relationship for a while now. We're not growing together anymore. You've gotten comfortable. And comfortable men become boring men. Comfortable. I work 45 hours a week. I help with everything around the house. I've never cheated, never lied about money, never given you a reason to doubt my commitment. What exactly is the problem here? She sighed like I was missing something obvious. It's not about problems. It's about potential. I married you because I saw what you could become, not what you were content to remain. So you've been disappointed in me for 5 years? Not disappointed, just waiting for you to level up. I stared at this woman who had apparently been conducting a long-term evaluation of my worthiness while I thought we were building a life together. The manipulation was breathtaking. Let me get this straight, I said slowly. You've been secretly dissatisfied with fundamental aspects of who I am. You've created a detailed improvement plan without any input from me, and you announced it publicly to maximize pressure and embarrassment. I announced it publicly so you take it seriously. Men respond better to accountability. Men respond better to respect. This isn't accountability, it's humiliation. She waved her hand dismissively. You're being dramatic. Couples help each other grow. This is just more structured than usual. I looked at the timeline chart on page 12. She had broken down the 30 days into weekly milestones with specific deliverables. Week 1, gym membership, wardrobe shopping, first networking event. Week 2, cooking class enrollment, couples therapy session, museum visit. It was like a project management timeline for rebuilding a human being. How long have you been working on this? A few months. I wanted to make sure it was comprehensive. A few months. I let that sink in. So while I've been living my life thinking we were happy, you've been building a case against me. Against you? This is for you. For us. I noticed something else about the document. At the bottom of each page was a small logo, Empowerment Through Excellence. Dr. Rachel Morrison, life coach. You hired a life coach to design this. Dr. Morrison specializes in relationship optimization. She's helped dozens of women get their marriages back on track. Or get their husbands back in line. She frowned. There's nothing wrong with having standards. I stood up and walked to the coffee maker, needing a moment to process this level of premeditation. She had paid someone to analyze our relationship and design a husband improvement program. The public humiliation wasn't an emotional mistake. It was a calculated strategy recommended by a professional. What happens if I don't complete this list to your satisfaction? Then we'll know where we stand. And what happens if Ido complete it? For the first time that morning, she hesitated. Then, you'll be the man I always knew you could be. That's not an answer. If I jump through every one of these hoops, lose the weight, get the promotion, learn French, and become this perfect husband you've designed, what guarantee do I have that you won't just create a new list? Why would you assume that? because someone who thinks their spouse needs a complete personality overhaul probably won't be satisfied with just one round of improvements. She closed her laptop and looked at me with cold eyes. You're overthinking this. The question is simple. Do you want to save our marriage or not? I picked up the folder and flipped through it one more time. 47 specific requirements organized into 6 categories with weekly progress milestones and measurable outcomes. This wasn't a conversation about our relationship. This was a performance improvement plan from Human Resources. I have a question for you, I said. If I need this much work to be worthy of your love, why did you marry me in the first place? She didn't answer immediately, which told me everything I needed to know. Monday morning, I woke up with perfect clarity about how to handle this situation. If she wanted to play games with lists and performance metrics, I was going to give her exactly what she asked for. Every single item completed to the letter. She was already dressed for work when I came downstairs. Her improvement folder sat organized next to her coffee cup like a daily planner. So, she said, looking up expectantly, what's your plan for today? I'm starting with item number 1, premium gym membership. Her face lit up. Really? I thought you might resist more. Why would I resist? You've made your requirements very clear. I'm going to meet every single one of them. I drove straight to the most expensive fitness club in the city. Not the reasonable gym she had researched, but the luxury country club with the $1,200 initiation fee and monthly dues that cost more than most people's car payments. The sales representative was thrilled to help me sign up for their premium package, personal trainer 3 times per week, nutrition counseling, massage therapy, and full spa services. I used our joint credit card for everything. When I got home that evening, she was reviewing something on her laptop. How did the gym visit go? Great news. I joined Riverside Country Club, full membership with all the amenities. She looked up sharply. That place costs a fortune. You said premium gym. Riverside is definitely premium. I meant like a nice fitness center, not a country club. I pulled out the membership agreement and placed it on the table. Your list says join a premium gym. It doesn't specify a budget. This is what premium looks like. She stared at the monthly fee on the contract. This is ridiculous. Cancel it and find something reasonable. I can't cancel it. There's a 12-month minimum commitment, but don't worry, I'm going to use it every day to make sure we get our money's worth. The next morning, I tackled item number 7, replace entire wardrobe with business casual attire. I went to the most expensive men's store downtown and bought 15 suits, 20 dress shirts, and accessories to match. Everything top of the line, everything charged to our joint account. When Etude saw the receipt that evening, she nearly choked on her dinner. $5,000 for clothes? Your list says replace entire wardrobe. I interpreted that as everything. Work clothes, casual clothes, even underwear. All business casual now. Exactly as requested. I meant buy a few nice outfits, not redesign your entire closet. Maybe you should have been more specific in your requirements. By Thursday, I had hired the personal trainer she suggested. Not for the standard 2 sessions per week, but for daily sessions at 6 in the morning and again at 8 in the evening. The trainer was delighted to accommodate my intensive transformation schedule at premium rates. This meant I was leaving the house at 5:30 every morning and returning home after 9 at night. When she complained that we barely saw each other anymore, I showed her item number 15. Demonstrate commitment to physical improvement through consistent training. This is excessive, she said. This is commitment. Isn't that what you wanted? Friday brought my first networking event. Instead of attending one of the reasonable professional mixers she had probably imagined, I bought tickets to the city's most exclusive business gala. $500 per person, black tie required. We can't afford this, she protested when she saw the charge. We can't afford not to invest in my career advancement. That's item number 9 on your list. I meant like Chamber of Commerce meetings, free networking events. Those are for people who aren't serious about advancement. You want me to level up, remember? The gala was perfect for my purposes. I worked aggressively, collecting business cards and scheduling lunch meetings with executives who moved in circles we had never accessed before. I also made sure to mention my wife's improvement program to several people, describing how supportive she was of my dramatic lifestyle changes. Saturday morning, she confronted me in the kitchen. This isn't what I meant by any of this. Really? Because I'm following your list exactly. Premium gym membership, check. New wardrobe, check. Personal trainer, check. Networking events, check. Professional development investment, check. You're being deliberately obtuse. I'm being deliberately thorough. You created a performance improvement plan, and I'm performing. She pulled out her laptop and opened the document. Look, when I wrote learn conversational French, I meant maybe download an app or take a community college class. I hired a private tutor, 2 hours every evening after my second workout session. She's from Paris and charges accordingly, but you can't put a price on authentic language instruction. When I said attend cultural events, I meant maybe go to a museum on the weekend. I bought season tickets to the symphony, the opera, and the theater. We have cultural events scheduled 3 times per week for the next 6 months. She stared at the receipts I had organized in a neat folder. You're bankrupting us. I'm investing in becoming the man you deserve. Isn't that worth any price? The truth was, I was being completely malicious with my compliance. Every item on her list could be interpreted multiple ways, and I was consistently choosing the most expensive, time-consuming, and disruptive interpretation possible. When she said, stop watching sports on television, I canceled our cable entirely and signed up for premium streaming services that cost twice as much. When she said, read 1 business book per week, I joined an exclusive book club that met for 3-hour discussions every Tuesday night. Her daily gratitude notes about our relationship became professionally printed cards delivered to her office by courier service. The surprise dates were elaborate affairs at restaurants that required reservations weeks in advance. By the end of the first week, our joint credit card was maxed out. Our schedule was completely insane, and she was panicking about the financial damage. This has to stop, she said Sunday night. Stop? I'm just getting started. I haven't even enrolled in the MBA program yet. Do you know how much those cost? You're doing this on purpose. I'm doing exactly what you asked for. The problem is you didn't think through what you were actually asking for. She sat down heavily on the couch, looking overwhelmed. I just wanted you to put more effort into our relationship. No, you wanted me to become a different person according to specifications you wrote with your life coach. I'm giving you exactly that person. Is this not what you wanted? For the first time since this whole thing started, she looked uncertain. The confident woman who had humiliated me in front of our family was realizing that she had created a monster she couldn't control. But I wasn't done with her list yet. We still had 23 days left, and I was just getting warmed up. Week 2 was when she tried to regain control of the situation. Instead of admitting her list was flawed, she doubled down with amendments and clarifications that made everything worse. Tuesday morning, I found a new document on the kitchen table, Performance Standards and Behavioral Guidelines Addendum. What's this? I asked, though I already knew. Clarifications. You're following the letter of the requirements but missing the spirit completely. I read through her new rules. Maximum spending limits for each category. Specific gym recommendations. Pre-approved networking events. Even dress code specifications that ruled out my expensive new suits. So now you're micromanaging your own micromanagement. I'm providing guidance so you can succeed appropriately. Appropriately according to who? You, your life coach, the committee of women who apparently vote on my worthiness as a husband? She flinched at that last part, which told me I had hit close to home. Dr. Morrison thinks you're being resistant to genuine change. Dr. Morrison thinks about me. How often are you discussing our marriage with this woman? She's helping me navigate this process. Relationship transformation is complicated. Relationship transformation. Listen to yourself. You sound like you're reading from a self-help book. That afternoon, she implemented her new accountability system. I received a text message every 2 hours asking for progress updates. Photos of my gym workout, screenshots of my French lesson app, receipts from lunch meetings with networking contacts. When I didn't respond to one of her check-ins immediately, she called. Where are you? You missed your 2 o'clock update. I'm in a business meeting. You know, advancing my career like you requested, you need to maintain communication during the improvement process. I'm hanging up now. Professional men don't take accountability calls from their wives during client meetings. That evening, she was waiting for me with printed charts and graphs. I've been tracking your progress against the timeline. You're ahead in some areas, but behind in others. As she had created actual performance metrics, charts showing my gym attendance, networking event participation, and cultural activity completion rates, like I was an employee under review. This is insane, I told her. You've turned our marriage into a corporate performance evaluation. Successful relationships require measurement and optimization. Successful relationships require mutual respect and genuine affection. Remember those concepts? She pulled out her phone and started typing. Dr. Morrison warned me you might become defensive when confronted with objective feedback. Dr. Morrison again. What exactly is her background? Is she even married? That's not relevant. It's completely relevant. You're taking marriage advice from someone who may have never successfully maintained a long-term relationship herself. Friday night, she tried a different approach, positive reinforcement. She cooked my favorite dinner and opened a bottle of wine. I want to acknowledge the areas where you're making real progress, she said, consulting her notes. Your physical fitness improvements are measurable, and you've definitely expanded your professional network. How generous of you to notice. I think we should celebrate these wins while addressing the areas that still need work. She pulled out yet another document, Reward and Consequence Framework for Continued Development. I couldn't believe what I was reading. She had designed a point system. Completing items on her list earned me points. Points could be redeemed for privileges like choosing what we watched on television or deciding where we went for dinner. Missing deadlines or suboptimal effort resulted in point deductions and corresponding restrictions. You've created a behavior modification program for your husband. I prefer to think of it as structured motivation. You prefer to think of your marriage as a training exercise for an unruly pet. That's not fair. Fair. You just handed me a document that treats my basic autonomy as something I have to earn through good behavior. She leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. Why are you fighting this so hard? I'm trying to help you become the best version of yourself. The best version according to who? Did you ever consider that maybe the current version of me is pretty good? That maybe a man who works hard, treats you well, and has never given you a reason to doubt his loyalty might already be worthy of respect? Of course you're worthy of respect. This isn't about worth. It's about growth. No, this is about control. You want to reshape me into your ideal husband without any input from me about what he want or need in this relationship. She was quiet for a moment, then pulled out her phone again. Dr. Morrison said, resistance to improvement often indicates deeper self-esteem issues. Dr. Morrison can kiss my ass. That kind of language isn't helpful. You know what isn't helpful? Having a third party analyze my psychological profile based on your biased reporting. I stood up and grabbed my keys. Where are you going? To think about whether I want to continue this ridiculous charade. You can't just leave. We're in the middle of the improvement process. Watch me. I spent that evening at my brother's house, explaining the whole situation. He listened with increasing disbelief. She actually put you on a point system like a misbehaving teenager, and you've been going along with this? I've been giving her exactly what she asked for, taken to its logical extreme. Why not just tell her to shove the whole thing? Because I want her to see what she's actually asking for. She thinks she wants a controllable husband who jumps through hoops for her approval. I'm showing her what that really looks like. When I got home, she was waiting up. We need to talk about your attitude problem. My attitude problem? Dr. Morrison thinks you're sabotaging the process because you're afraid of positive change. Dr. Morrison thinks a lot of things about me for someone who's never met me. She doesn't need to meet you. She can assess your patterns based on your behaviors. My patterns? My behaviors? Do you hear yourself? You're talking about me like I'm a case study. She opened her laptop and turned it toward me. On the screen was an email chain between her and the life coach, discussing resistance strategies and breakthrough techniques for difficult transformation cases. I was a difficult transformation case. In that moment, reading about myself being analyzed and strategized over by two women who saw me as a project to be completed rather than a person to be loved, I realized something important. I wasn't just going to complete her ridiculous list anymore. I was going to win this game entirely. Day 25. She thought she was winning because I had stopped arguing about her ridiculous requirements. What she didn't realize was that I had been playing a completely different game the entire time. While she was focused on tracking my compliance with her improvement list, I had been conducting my own research, not on becoming a better husband, but on becoming a better man who deserved a better wife. Good morning, I said, sitting down at the kitchen table with my own manila folder. She looked up from her laptop, surprised. What's that? My evaluation of our relationship. I've been doing some analysis of my own. Her confident expression faltered. Analysis of what? I opened the folder and pulled out a thick document. Patterns of behavior, communication styles, mutual respect indicators. You know, the kind of objective assessment you're so fond of. I don't understand. For 3 weeks, you've been treating me like a project that needs fixing. So I decided to evaluate whether the project manager is qualified for the job. I slid the first page across the table. Let's start with communication patterns. Over the past month, you've interrupted me 47 times during conversations, dismissed my opinions 12 times, and consulted with your life coach about our private relationship matters on at least 8 occasions. She stared at the document. You've been keeping track. You taught me the value of measurable outcomes. I'm a fast learner. Page 2 was financial analysis. Your improvement program has cost us over $8,000 so far. Money we didn't have, spent without any consultation with me about our budget or priorities. That was your choice to spend that much. That was your choice to demand improvements without considering the consequences. A responsible partner would have discussed realistic expectations and financial limitations. I flipped to page 3. This one's interesting. Respect and support metrics. 0 instances of you asking what he wanted to improve about myself. 0 conversations about her own areas for growth. 0 acknowledgement that a marriage involves 2 people making mutual efforts. She closed her laptop slowly. What exactly are you trying to say? I'm saying that while you've been focused on changing me, I've been evaluating whether you're worth changing for. Her face went pale. Worth changing for? The past 3 weeks have been very educational. I've learned that my wife views me as a fixer-upper project, that she discusses our private relationship with strangers, that she's willing to humiliate me publicly and manipulate me financially to get what she wants. I pulled out another document, so I created my own improvement plan for you. She reached for the paper with shaking hands. 30-day wife enhancement program, she read aloud. Fair is fair, right? If I need improvement, certainly you must have areas where you could grow too. She scanned the list, her expression growing more horrified with each item. Lose 10 pounds, take cooking classes, stop gossiping with friends about our relationship, eliminate social media usage, attend anger management therapy. Those are just the basic requirements. Page 2 covers personality improvements, less controlling behavior, more appreciation for what you already have, developing actual hobbies instead of managing other people's lives. This is ridiculous. Why? You created a list of 47 things you wanted me to change. I only came up with 31 for you. I'm being more reasonable. She stood up abruptly. I'm not doing this. Really, because 30 days ago you said that people who refuse to improve themselves when their spouse identifies areas for growth are probably not marriage material. That's different. How is it different? Because you actually needed improvement. I leaned back in my chair and smiled. According to who? You, Dr. Morrison? The same way you need improvement according to me. She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it, realizing the trap she had walked into. Here's the thing, I continued. The past month taught me something valuable. I learned that I'm actually a pretty good husband to the right woman, a woman who appreciates loyalty, hard work, and genuine affection, a woman who doesn't need to hire a life coach to figure out how to be happy in her marriage. So what are you saying? I'm saying that your 30-day program worked perfectly. I did become the man you deserve. I stood up and walked toward the door. Where are you going? To spend time with people who like me the way I am. You have 29 days to decide if you want to become the woman you deserve. You can't just leave me with this list. I turned back to look at her standing in our kitchen with my improvement plan in her hands, finally understanding what it felt like to be judged, and found wanting by the person who was supposed to love you unconditionally. Why not? It's exactly what you did to me. Day 30. I came home to find her sitting at the kitchen table with both our improvement documents spread out in front of her. She looked like she hadn't slept. We need to talk, she said without looking up. I'm listening. I want to cancel the whole thing. Forget the lists. Forget the deadlines. Let's just go back to how things were. I sat down across from her. That's interesting. What changed your mind? This got out of hand. I never meant for it to become this complicated. Complicated how? She gestured at my list for her. This isn't fair. I can't change my entire personality in 30 days. But I could. That's different. Men are more adaptable. I almost laughed. Men are more adaptable. Or men are more willing to tolerate disrespect. She was quiet for a long moment. I talked to Dr. Morrison about your list. Of course you did. What did she say? She said you were being manipulative and trying to turn the tables instead of focusing on genuine self-improvement. And what do you think? I think. She paused, then looked directly at me. For the first time in days, I think you showed me exactly what I was doing to you. Finally, some actual honesty. So what now? I asked. I want to start over. No lists, no programs, no 30-day anything. Just us working on our relationship together. That sounds reasonable. Except for one problem. What problem? I don't want to work on our relationship anymore. She stared at me. What do you mean? I mean that the past month showed me who you really are. Someone who thinks love is conditional on performance. Someone who discusses our private relationship with strangers. Someone who would humiliate me in front of our families to get her way. But I'm willing to change. Now you are. After you realized your strategy backfired. That's not growth, that's damage control. She reached across the table toward me. Please, I made a mistake. You made a choice. A calculated, premeditated choice to try to remake me into your ideal husband. The only mistake was thinking I'd be grateful for it. So what are you saying, you want a divorce? I'm saying I want a wife who married me because she actually liked who I was, not because she saw potential for who I could become. Edo, like who you are, really. Because 4 weeks ago, you gave me a 12-page improvement plan that suggested otherwise. She started crying then, which a month ago would have made me want to comfort her. Now I just felt tired. I was just trying to make us better, she said through her tears. You were trying to make me different. There's a distinction. I stood up and grabbed my keys. Where are you going? To think about whether I want to spend the rest of my life with someone who sees me as a work in progress instead of a finished man worth loving. How long will you be gone? I don't know. Maybe you should use the time to figure out who are when you're not trying to manage somebody else's life. I walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. You know what's funny? Your program actually worked. Ed'd become a better man over the past 30 days, more confident, more decisive, with higher standards for how I expect to be treated. So we can make this work. The problem is the man I became doesn't settle for women who think love is a performance review. I opened the door and paused one more time. You wanted me to become the man you deserve. Mission accomplished. Unfortunately for you, the man you deserve doesn't deserve the woman you turned out to be. That night, I stayed at my brother's house again. My phone buzzed constantly with text from her, apologizing, promising to change, begging me to come home and talk. But here's what she never understood. You can't build a relationship on someone changing who they are to meet your standards. Real love accepts people as they are and grows together naturally. She wanted a husband she could train and control. I wanted a wife who chose me because she actually liked me. The next morning, I started looking for my own place. Not because I was giving up on marriage, but because I was finally giving up on trying to be enough for someone who would never think I was enough. 2 weeks later, she called to tell me she had fired Dr. Morrison and wanted to try couples counseling instead. That's great, I told her. I hope your next husband appreciates the effort.